Ethan had always dreamed of the stars. He spent his childhood gazing through telescopes at the tiny specks of light scattered across the sky, imagining worlds filled with life, wonders, and mysteries waiting to be discovered. On Earth, humanity had made great strides in space travel, sending probes and ships to the outer planets, but the vast expanse of the galaxy remained largely unexplored. Ethan, now a young pilot trained for deep space missions, felt a restless pull toward the unknown. It was not just curiosity that drove him. It was something deeper, almost like a whisper calling him beyond the familiar reaches of human territory. The day had begun like any other. Ethan's ship, the Aurora, a sleek scout-class vessel designed for long-range missions, drifted through orbit around a quiet, blue-green planet in a remote sector. He was conducting routine scans for cosmic anomalies, a task he had performed countless times. Yet, as the ship's sensors hummed and blinked, a pattern emerged, a signal that did not belong to any natural phenomenon. It was faint at first, barely distinguishable from the background noise. But it had a structure, a rhythm, a purpose. Ethan's brow furrowed as he adjusted the filters and focused the array. The signal transformed into a coherent message, strange and beautiful. Unlike human transmissions, it carried a tone, a cadence that seemed almost alive. He replayed it several times, isolating its components. Then, through the static, a voice emerged, soft, melodic, yet urgent. It was unmistakably intelligent. "Help us, please. We are lost," the voice said. "We do not have much time." Ethan froze. His heart raced, a mixture of fear and excitement. He had heard reports of alien signals before, mostly from automated probes and distant transmissions. But nothing had ever sounded so personal. The voice was clearly young, female, and it carried emotion. Ethan felt a strange connection, a pull stronger than any curiosity he had ever known. He knew the proper procedure would be to report the signal to headquarters, to let the experts handle it. But something inside him rebelled. He could not ignore it. Hours passed as he worked tirelessly to decode the rest of the message. It was fragmented, encrypted in a way that suggested urgency rather than sophistication. Slowly, the voice revealed more about its origin. A planet far beyond human-mapped systems, under threat from a powerful and oppressive alien empire. The girl, her name was Lyra, pleaded for someone to come. Someone who could act with intelligence and courage. Someone who could make a difference when conventional solutions would fail. Ethan leaned back in his seat, staring at the screen. His mind raced. Every logical part of him screamed that this was dangerous. Humanity had treaties with known alien civilizations, and venturing into unknown space without authorization could be disastrous. Yet another part of him, the part that had dreamed of the stars since childhood, burned with determination. He felt the responsibility as if it were placed on him personally. There was no hesitation. By the time the system clock blinked past midnight, Ethan had made his decision. He would follow the signal. He would find Lyra and see if he could help. The risk was immense, the consequences unknown, but he felt certain that he could not turn away. Preparing the Aurora for the journey was a delicate task. He plotted a course through uncharted sectors, selecting routes that avoided heavily monitored regions while taking advantage of gravitational assists to conserve fuel. The ship's cargo bay was minimal, containing essential supplies, repair tools, and personal items enough to sustain him through weeks of travel, possibly months. Ethan knew he might not return quickly, and he accepted that reality without fear. As he initiated the jump to faster-than-light travel, he felt a shiver of anticipation. The stars stretched into long streaks of light, and the familiar hum of the ship's engines seemed to sync with the rhythm of his heart. He closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the faint static of the alien message, repeating softly in his mind. "Help us. Please. We are lost." Days turned into weeks as Ethan navigated through regions of space that no human had ever traversed. He encountered drifting asteroid belts, rogue comets, and pockets of gas that glowed with strange, iridescent colors. Each obstacle tested his skill, forcing him to think quickly, make split-second decisions, and trust his instincts. He relied on old techniques taught in training, but also on improvisation, adjusting his ship's systems on the fly. The vast emptiness of space, once intimidating, now felt like a partner guiding him toward his destination. During one particularly long stretch of travel, the signal grew stronger. Lyra's voice became clearer, more insistent. She began giving him coordinates, explaining how to navigate through the asteroid fields and evade detection by the Empire's patrols. She also shared glimpses of her life, her world, and her people. Ethan listened with fascination. Her planet, she explained, was a place of forests that shimmered in multiple shades of color, seas that reflected the sky in impossible patterns, and creatures that moved with a grace unfamiliar to humans. But all of it was under threat, controlled and exploited by an empire that valued power over life. Despite the danger, Ethan found himself smiling at her descriptions. Lyra's messages were not only urgent, but also filled with humor and curiosity. She asked about Earth, about humans, and about the strange habits of his species. Ethan replied through encrypted channels, telling her of simple pleasures, rain falling on rooftops, the taste of fresh bread, the sound of children laughing. Though they had never met, a bond began to form, fragile but undeniable. One night, as Ethan floated in the ship's cockpit, staring at the swirling colors of a nearby nebula, he thought about why he was here. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, nor the most advanced. Yet here he was, navigating dangers that many would avoid, guided only by trust, hope, and determination. There was something about humanity that allowed for courage in the face of uncertainty, creativity when solutions seemed impossible, and empathy even for those entirely different from themselves. He realized that these were the traits that Lyra's people lacked in their current crisis traits that only he could bring. But the journey was not without peril. As he approached the outer edge of the sector where Lyra's planet lay, Ethan detected patrol ships moving through the void. The Empire's vessels were sleek and fast, designed to intimidate and control. Their sensors were sophisticated, capable of detecting small craft like the Aurora. Ethan's pulse quickened. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing on him. Turning back would be safe, predictable. Moving forward would be dangerous, perhaps fatal. But he knew what he had to do. Using the knowledge Lyra had provided, he maneuvered the Aurora through a narrow corridor of asteroids, weaving between massive rocks that could crush his ship in seconds. The patrol ships scanned the sector, their lights cutting through the darkness. But Ethan's human unpredictability allowed him to slip through. He felt a surge of triumph as he emerged unscathed on the other side, the alien signal growing even stronger. Lyra's voice was filled with relief, a sound that warmed him more than any sunlight ever could. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to hope that he could make a difference, that he could save a world from oppression, that he could prove that humanity had a place in the vast, mysterious galaxy. He also felt a quiet excitement at the thought of meeting Lyra in person, of seeing the world she described, and of confronting the challenges that lay ahead. As he prepared to make the final jumps toward her system, Ethan reflected on the journey so far. Every hazard overcome, every decision made, every small success had been possible because of uniquely human traits: courage, intuition, creativity, and the willingness to act when others might hesitate. It was a reminder that humanity's strength was not just in technology or numbers, but in the heart and mind of each individual. The stars stretched endlessly before him, but Ethan felt no fear. The unknown was not a threat. It was a challenge, a calling, and he intended to answer it. With Lyra's voice guiding him, and his own determination fueling every action, he was ready to face whatever lay ahead. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike, but he knew that for all its uncertainty, he could make a difference. And so, with a steady hand on the controls and a mind focused on the mission, Ethan followed the alien girl's message through the stars, leaving behind the familiar and venturing into a destiny that promised danger, discovery, and perhaps a connection that would change the fate of two worlds forever. Ethan's journey through the uncharted reaches of space had grown more intense with each passing day. The stars, once distant pinpoints of light, now stretched into long corridors of color and energy, each system presenting new mysteries and dangers. The signal from Lyra pulsed with urgency, guiding him step by step, each message more detailed than the last. She explained how to navigate regions of unstable space, pointing out safe corridors between drifting asteroid fields and zones of gravitational turbulence. Despite her guidance, the hazards were real and unrelenting. One morning, as Ethan charted a path through a dense cluster of asteroids, his ship shuddered violently. A massive rock had struck the outer hull, leaving a deep scratch along the Aurora's protective plating. He activated the emergency stabilizers, keeping the ship from spinning out of control. With careful precision, he maneuvered the vessel between moving rocks, each one threatening to crush him. The ship groaned under the strain, but Ethan's calm focus and quick thinking saw him through. Afterward, he accessed the ship's communication system to send a reply to Lyra. Her voice came immediately, filled with both relief and amusement. "I was worried for a moment," she said. "Humans are brave, or maybe reckless. I cannot tell which." Ethan chuckled. Her light-hearted tone was a comfort. It reminded him that despite the danger, there was hope, and someone on the other side of the stars was waiting for him. Lyra's descriptions of her planet grew more vivid. She spoke of towering crystal forests, their branches reflecting sunlight in countless colors. Rivers of glowing liquid wove through valleys, carrying nutrients to creatures adapted to survive in ways humans could barely imagine. She described her people's technology as elegant but vulnerable. Their cities floated above the ground on levitation fields, powered by energy drawn from the planet itself. But that same energy had made them a target for the Empire that now enslaved her world. "The Empire does not understand balance," Lyra explained in one message. "They take without thinking. They destroy what they cannot control. They have already drained half of our energy cores. Soon, the cities will collapse, and my people will be lost." Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to sound composed. Ethan felt a pang of urgency. Each day that passed brought her planet closer to ruin, and he was the only one in reach who could act. As Ethan continued, he encountered strange phenomena that defied his training. A nebula of shifting energy blocked the main route, sending waves of electrical discharges that could fry ship systems. He analyzed the data, charting a path through less dense areas, and carefully adjusted the shields to absorb the interference. Every maneuver required ingenuity, combining his technical knowledge with improvisation. He realized that in space, there were no fixed rules, only principles, and humans were capable of adapting in ways other species might not. Lyra sent more than just coordinates. She began to explain the Empire's tactics, revealing patterns in their patrol routes and energy absorption techniques. She described devices humans could never have imagined: energy siphons that drained entire cities in minutes, and patrol ships that moved faster than anything on Earth. Ethan absorbed every detail, asking questions and testing hypotheses. Together, they formed an unusual partnership, human intuition meeting alien knowledge. One evening, as Ethan floated in the cockpit, monitoring the external sensors, he noticed a small vessel approaching from a nearby system. It was unmarked, and its energy signature was unfamiliar. He held his breath, readying the defenses. As the ship came closer, he recognized it as a patrol craft from the Empire. The vessel scanned the area with sharp beams, searching for any sign of his presence. Ethan's mind raced. A direct confrontation was impossible. Retreat was risky. He needed a plan. Using Lyra's guidance, he adjusted the Aurora's trajectory to mimic the movements of a nearby asteroid. The patrol ship scanned the field repeatedly but could not distinguish him from the debris. Ethan's hands worked quickly, recalibrating the ship's stealth systems to absorb the patrol's sensors' signals. Minutes passed like hours, each one stretching his nerves taut. Finally, the patrol moved on, leaving him unharmed. He exhaled, feeling the relief wash over him. Lyra's voice came through immediately. "You are clever," she said. "Clever, brave, and perhaps a little reckless. But I am glad you are still here. I cannot imagine doing this without you." Ethan smiled at her words. The connection between them was growing stronger. Not just as allies, but as companions in a dangerous journey. Her laughter, hope, and trust became as important as any shield or weapon. The alien girl also shared stories of her culture, revealing her people's deep respect for life and harmony. They had lived in balance with their planet for centuries, harnessing energy without harming the environment. Ethan marveled at how their technology reflected their values, everything designed to be sustainable, adaptive, and beautiful. It reminded him of what humanity could aspire to, even though Earth had often fallen short of similar ideals. Despite the growing bond, Ethan never underestimated the danger. Each day brought new challenges. Rogue meteor showers, gravitational anomalies, and silent regions of space that seemed to warp time itself. He solved each problem with creativity and patience, sometimes risking personal safety to keep the ship operational. It was exhausting work, but he embraced it. Every obstacle overcome reinforced his belief in human resilience and adaptability. One night, Lyra's message took a somber tone. "I fear the Empire is preparing something," she said. "They know someone is coming. They have begun reinforcing defenses around the energy cores. I can feel the tension in the air. Even from here, time is shorter than I imagined." Ethan felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. The closer he got, the more dangerous the mission became. But fear did not stop him. It sharpened his focus, reminded him of what was at stake, and strengthened his resolve. As the journey continued, Ethan found small ways to help Lyra's people even before reaching them. He guided satellites that had been left in orbit by previous explorers to repair damaged communication arrays. He corrected minor errors in planetary shields that had begun to fail under the Empire's energy drains. These small victories gave him confidence, but they also made him more aware of the scale of the challenge ahead. The Empire's power was vast, and direct confrontation would require careful strategy, not brute force. Lyra often encouraged him, offering insight into her people's tactics. "Humans think differently," she said once. "You do not rely only on force or predictability. You improvise. You create solutions when none seem possible. That is why you can help me." Her words made Ethan proud, but also humble. He understood that his abilities were ordinary in many ways, but combined with his willingness to act, they could become extraordinary. Days turned into weeks, and the star systems grew increasingly unfamiliar. Ethan marveled at the beauty and strangeness of it all. Planets with skies of shifting colors, comets trailing luminous gases, and stars that seemed to pulse with energy. He also grew more attuned to the patterns of space itself, sensing changes in gravity, energy flows, and anomalies before the ship's instruments even detected them. It was as if the galaxy itself was teaching him to be more than just a pilot. During one particularly tense stretch, he encountered a massive energy storm. Lightning arced across the void, striking with unpredictable force. The storm threatened to disable the ship's engines entirely. Ethan calculated the safest path, using the ship's shields to deflect the worst of the strikes, while carefully adjusting the trajectory to ride the currents of energy, rather than fight against them. The storm battered the Aurora, but Ethan's ingenuity and courage saw him through once again. After the storm passed, Lyra's voice came through, calm but tinged with awe. "I have never seen anyone survive a storm like that," she said. "Humans, you are remarkable." Ethan felt a warm glow at her words. It was not just praise, it was trust, admiration, and hope. Each compliment, each expression of relief, strengthened the bond between them, making the distance between their worlds feel smaller. As Ethan approached the outer edges of Lyra's system, he noticed the first signs of the Empire's occupation. Distant energy fields glowed red against the darkness of space. Patrol ships moved in organized formations, and massive structures drained energy from the planet below. It was a sobering sight. The full scale of the challenge ahead became clear. One small ship, even with human ingenuity, would face overwhelming odds. Yet Ethan did not falter. He reviewed all that he had learned from Lyra. All the tactics, knowledge, and observations gathered along the journey. He began planning his approach carefully, considering each risk and every possible advantage. Improvisation would be necessary, but preparation was equally important. He relied on the lessons he had learned from his own people: adaptability, courage, and the willingness to act decisively when the moment demanded it. Lyra's final message before the next jump was filled with both anxiety and hope. "The Empire is ready," she said, "but I believe in you. I trust your heart, your mind, and your courage. If anyone can help us, it is you." Ethan felt the weight of her trust, but it did not crush him. It inspired him. He was no longer just a human pilot. He was a lifeline for a civilization that had never known humans before. As the Aurora prepared to jump into the inner regions of her system, Ethan took a moment to reflect on the journey so far. Every hazard, every challenge, every moment of fear and triumph had taught him something essential about humanity. Humans were not the fastest, the strongest, or the most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, but humans were resilient, inventive, compassionate, and capable of acts that could change the course of events against impossible odds. With a final adjustment to the navigation array, Ethan initiated the jump toward Lyra's system. The stars stretched into long streaks of color again, faster and brighter than before. He felt a surge of determination and purpose. Whatever awaited him on the other side, he knew he was ready. Not because of superior technology, but because of the human spirit that had carried him across the stars. And so, guided by Lyra's messages, strengthened by trust and hope, and driven by the courage that defined his species, Ethan sailed onward through the unknown, toward a destiny that would test him, challenge him, and reveal the true power of a human heart. The galaxy, vast and mysterious, waited for him, but he was not afraid. He was ready. Ethan could see the glow of Lyra's system ahead, a cluster of planets orbiting a star that shone brighter than any he had seen on his journey. His sensors detected the first of the Empire's defenses, vast energy shields surrounding key installations and patrol ships moving in precise formations. The sight was intimidating. Even the small Aurora looked fragile compared to the alien Empire's power. Yet he felt no fear. Every challenge he had faced so far had prepared him for this moment. He was not just a pilot. He was a human, and humans had a way of surprising the universe. Lyra's voice came through the communication array, calm but tense. "Ethan, the patrols are heavier near the inner planets. The energy cores have increased output, and they are monitoring all approaches. You must move carefully, or you risk alerting the Empire to our presence." Her words were practical, but Ethan sensed the worry behind them. He understood. The stakes had never been higher. If he failed, Lyra's planet would fall, her people enslaved, and the hope he carried across light years would vanish. He studied the star charts, searching for weak points in the Empire's formations. Unlike humans, the Empire's forces relied on rigid protocols, predictable patterns that could be exploited. Ethan's mind raced, analyzing movement vectors, energy readings, and orbital paths. He found a narrow corridor through a belt of asteroids that the patrols could not easily navigate. It was risky. Any miscalculation could crush the Aurora, but risk was part of human ingenuity. Calculating the odds, he decided it was the best path forward. As he maneuvered through the asteroid field, the Empire's ships scanned the area relentlessly. Ethan used every trick he knew. Adjusting shields to absorb sensor scans, projecting false energy signatures, and moving unpredictably. Each maneuver required split-second decision-making. One wrong move, one hesitation, and the Aurora could be torn apart. He remembered Lyra's advice and kept communicating with her, timing his actions with the information she provided. "Two patrols are approaching from the left," Lyra warned. "They are faster than anything you've seen. If they detect you, they will intercept immediately." Ethan adjusted the ship's engines, boosting power in short bursts to slide between asteroids, avoiding detection. The patrols scanned repeatedly, their beams slicing across the void. But the combination of human intuition and improvisation allowed the Aurora to slip through undetected. He exhaled when the last patrol moved away, feeling the thrill of survival sharpen his focus. After navigating the patrols, Ethan approached the outer rings of Lyra's planet. From orbit, he could see the vast network of energy conduits powering her cities. The Empire had drained much of the energy, and the cities were dim, flickering in the alien night. Lyra's voice broke through again, trembling slightly. "Ethan, that is what we must save. The conduits are vulnerable, but if we destabilize them carefully, we can free the planet from the Empire's control. But you must be precise. Any mistake could collapse the cities entirely." Ethan studied the planetary diagrams, his mind piecing together the solution. Unlike the Empire, humans did not always rely on brute force. They could combine creativity, observation, and improvisation to solve problems that others could not. He knew the plan would require coordination, courage, and flawless execution, but he also knew that failure was not an option. The first step was to disable the Empire's outer defenses. Using Lyra's guidance, he piloted the Aurora into a narrow approach vector that avoided the main energy fields. He timed his maneuvers with the movement of patrols, using asteroids and natural debris for cover. The sensors picked up enemy ships attempting to locate him, but Ethan's unpredictability and careful adjustments allowed him to pass unnoticed. Once in position, he accessed the controls for the outer energy siphons. Using the knowledge Lyra had shared, the conduits were complex, delicate structures. He carefully rerouted power flows, destabilizing the siphons without causing a collapse. The cities below flickered but did not fail. Ethan's heart pounded. One small misstep, and the cities, along with thousands of lives, would be destroyed. He worked meticulously, double-checking each calculation, trusting both his training and human intuition. As the outer defenses fell into temporary dormancy, Ethan encountered the Empire's most formidable patrol. Two massive ships moved in coordinated patterns, their sensors sweeping every sector. Ethan knew direct confrontation would be suicidal. Instead, he devised a plan relying on speed, misdirection, and the unique traits of human improvisation. He projected false energy signatures, feinting in one direction while accelerating through another. The patrols adjusted, anticipating his moves, but he altered trajectory mid-maneuver, using the chaos to slip past them. Lyra's voice came through, relieved and astonished. "I have never seen anyone move like that," she said. "You are incredible." With the outer defenses neutralized, Ethan began the critical phase of the plan, stabilizing the energy conduits while preventing the Empire from regaining control. Lyra guided him in real time, providing detailed schematics and instructions. The work was intricate, requiring coordination across distances that would challenge even the most advanced species. Yet, through trust, communication, and determination, they progressed. Hours passed like minutes as Ethan adjusted conduits, rerouted power flows, and carefully monitored the planet below. He watched the cities flicker back to life, their energy stabilizing, and felt a profound satisfaction. This was more than a technical victory, it was proof that humans could achieve what others could not. Human adaptability, intuition, and courage were making a tangible difference. Just as the final conduits were coming online, an alert sounded. The Empire had detected the disruption. A massive fleet emerged from the inner system, converging on Ethan's position. The situation was dire. The Aurora was small and lightly armed, and there was no hope of winning a conventional battle. Ethan's mind raced. The Empire's tactics relied on overwhelming power and predictability. He would exploit their overconfidence. Using a combination of stealth maneuvers, sensor decoys, and precise timing, he lured the fleet toward a narrow asteroid field. The Empire's ships followed blindly, unable to navigate as nimbly as the Aurora. Ethan accelerated through the field, weaving between massive rocks, forcing the enemy to split formations and risk collisions. Several ships were damaged or destroyed by the terrain, while others were forced to retreat. It was not brute force that won the encounter. It was human creativity, daring, and quick thinking. Lyra's voice came through again, her excitement palpable. "Ethan, you have done it. The city energy is stable, and the fleet is scattered. Your courage, your mind, It is beyond anything my people have seen. Ethan smiled, feeling the weight of their combined achievement. They had accomplished the impossible together. Human intuition and alien knowledge forming a force the Empire could not anticipate. With the immediate threat neutralized, Ethan focused on securing the remaining energy cores. The Empire would return, but for now, the planet had breathing room. He worked with Lyra to reinforce conduits, establish temporary shields, and create patterns that the Empire's sensors could not easily detect. Every step required careful calculation, improvisation, and courage. Ethan realized that this was why humans were remarkable, not because of technology or raw strength, but because of their ability to think differently, to adapt, and to act decisively when others hesitated. As night fell across the alien world, Ethan looked down at the cities, now glowing with renewed energy. The planet was alive again, its people safe for now. He felt a profound sense of accomplishment, but also humility. This was just the beginning. The Empire remained a threat, and the planet's long-term survival depended on continued vigilance. Yet, for the first time, he saw the tangible impact of his efforts. A small human pilot had crossed the stars and changed the fate of an entire civilization. Lyra appeared on the communication display, her face illuminated by the city lights below. She smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude and admiration. You came when no one else could. You believed when others might have turned away. You are extraordinary. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. The bond between them was stronger than ever, forged through danger, trust, and shared purpose. He realized that the journey had transformed him as much as it had saved her world. They spent hours reviewing the planet's systems, ensuring stability and planning for potential counterattacks. Ethan felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. Every challenge had been met with ingenuity and courage, and every success had reinforced his belief in human potential. Lyra's guidance had been invaluable, but it was human adaptability, creativity, and determination that had made the difference. As he prepared for a brief rest, Ethan reflected on the journey so far. Humanity was not the most powerful species, nor the most advanced, but humans possessed qualities that could change the course of events against overwhelming odds. Courage, intuition, empathy, and creativity were more than abstract concepts. They were forces capable of shaping the galaxy. Lyra's planet was proof of that. In the quiet of his cockpit, Ethan allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He had followed a voice through the stars, braving unknown dangers, navigating impossible obstacles, and confronting a powerful empire. And yet, he knew the journey was not over. The empire would recover, new challenges would arise, and his role as a human ally to Lyra's people was only beginning. But he was ready. Because humans did not give up. Humans did not surrender. Humans adapted, persevered, and changed the world in ways no one else could. And as the first light of a distant star illuminated the aurora, Ethan smiled. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and wonders alike. But for the first time, he felt a true sense of belonging among the stars. Guided by trust, driven by courage, and inspired by hope, he was prepared to face whatever lay ahead. For humanity, the journey was not just survival, it was the promise of greatness. The proof that even a single individual could make a difference in the vastness of space. With renewed determination, Ethan set a course for the inner planets, ready to continue the mission alongside Lyra. The Empire's forces would not stop them, because where humans went, ingenuity and courage followed. And as he looked at the stars stretching endlessly before him, he knew that this was only the beginning of a story that would change the fate of worlds, unite distant species, and prove that the human spirit could overcome even the greatest challenges. Ethan hovered in the aurora, staring down at Lyra's planet. The cities glimmered faintly under protective energy fields, their lights flickering like distant stars. The Empire's presence was still formidable, with patrols constantly orbiting and energy siphons draining vital power. Every second counted. Lyra's voice came through clearly, calm but filled with determination. Ethan, This is the moment. We must destabilize the remaining siphons without harming the cities. It is precise work. One mistake could destroy everything. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. He had faced dangers before: asteroid storms, rogue fleets, and deadly energy fields, but this was different. Lives were on the line in a way he could feel viscerally. He studied the schematics Lyra had provided, memorizing every conduit, every energy node. The plan was elegant but required absolute coordination. He was not just piloting a ship. He was part of a system, a lifeline that connected human courage with alien technology. He initiated the approach, guiding the Aurora close to the first siphon. Using the knowledge Lyra had shared, he began to adjust energy flows, rerouting power gradually to prevent a catastrophic collapse. The ship's systems strained under the effort, but Ethan relied on improvisation and precise timing to maintain stability. He paused only to communicate with Lyra, ensuring each step was synchronized. "Good," she said softly. "You're doing it perfectly. Now the next node. To the east. Be careful, its defenses are stronger." Ethan navigated through the defenses with careful calculations and split-second maneuvers. He anticipated patrol ship movements, using asteroid fields and debris as cover. When one patrol detected unusual energy patterns, he accelerated unpredictably, drawing the ship into narrow channels the Empire's vessels could not follow. His improvisation worked flawlessly, leaving the patrol confused and unable to intercept him. As he reached the eastern node, Ethan began the most delicate part of the operation. The energy conduits were intertwined with the city's power grid, and a miscalculation could destroy everything Lyra's people had left. He adjusted the flow incrementally, monitoring every fluctuation, while Lyra guided him with calm precision. "Trust yourself," she said. "You see patterns where others only see obstacles. That is why you are here." Ethan smiled faintly. The praise was comforting, but the pressure remained. He knew that their success depended on both human ingenuity and alien knowledge. The combined efforts had already begun to stabilize parts of the planet's energy grid, and now the final phase required courage and exactitude. Suddenly, alarms blared. Empire ships were converging from multiple directions. They had detected the disruptions and were moving to intercept. Ethan's pulse quickened. There was no room for hesitation. He analyzed their approach vectors, searching for weaknesses in their formation. Using a combination of decoys, energy bursts, and unpredictable flight patterns, he forced several ships to collide with minor asteroid fragments, damaging them while he slipped through. The Empire's power was formidable, but human creativity and unpredictability proved stronger in this critical moment. Lyra's voice was steady, but Ethan sensed her tension. "You must reach the central conduits now. Everything depends on this. The cities will follow your lead. Be careful, Ethan. I trust you." With a deep breath, Ethan accelerated toward the central nodes. The path was narrow, with deadly energy fields crisscrossing the space ahead. His hands flew over the controls, adjusting shields, thrusters, and energy redirection systems in perfect harmony. Every movement required balance, timing, and intuition. The Aurora shuddered as energy fields lashed against the hull. But Ethan remained focused. He was not merely reacting. He was thinking ahead, predicting the patterns of the Empire's defense, and moving with a precision that even the advanced alien AI could not anticipate. As he reached the first central conduit, Ethan began to reroute power with painstaking care. The energy was immense, almost alive, and one wrong touch could trigger a chain reaction. He paused, calculating each adjustment, and then executed the sequence with flawless timing. Lyra's guidance was crucial, her voice steady in his ears. "Now, Ethan, shift the energy slightly to the northern channel." Yes, just like that. The city lights below flared briefly, then stabilized. Ethan felt a surge of relief. One conduit down, a few more to go. He moved to the next node, repeating the delicate process, each step requiring focus, courage, and precision. The Empire's ships were closing in. But he did not falter. Every human instinct, honed over centuries of survival and problem-solving, guided him through the danger. Creativity, bravery, and intuition combined in a way that technology alone could not replicate. Hours passed, but finally, the final conduit was under control. Ethan rerouted the energy, shutting down the siphons entirely. The cities below blazed with renewed power, their energy fields glowing steadily for the first time in weeks. The Empire's systems faltered in confusion. Their patrols scrambled, unable to respond to the sudden shift in energy distribution. Ethan's ingenuity had turned the tide without a single direct confrontation with overwhelming force. Lyra's voice came through, filled with awe and relief. "You did it, Ethan. The planet is safe. The cities are alive again. Your courage, your mind, you have changed everything." Ethan smiled, feeling the exhaustion of the journey melt into pride. They had done the impossible. A single human pilot, guided by trust and determination, had saved an entire world. But there was still work to do. The Empire would return, seeking to reclaim control. Ethan worked with Lyra to establish monitoring systems, reinforcing the energy grids and creating patterns that would make it difficult for the Empire to detect or manipulate the planet's power. They used a combination of human improvisation and Lyra's knowledge to set traps and contingencies, ensuring that the planet could defend itself against future attacks. As the system stabilized, Ethan finally allowed himself a moment to rest. He floated in the cockpit, looking out at the vibrant cities below. Lyra's planet was alive again, its people safe for now, and the bond between them stronger than ever. The journey had been long, dangerous, and filled with uncertainty. But it had proven something extraordinary. That humans, through courage, ingenuity, and heart, could achieve what others could not. Lyra appeared on the communication screen, her face illuminated by the city lights. She smiled warmly. "You came when no one else could. You believed when others might have turned away. You are extraordinary, Ethan. Humanity, your species, it is something remarkable." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. The words were more than praise, they were recognition of the human spirit. The drive to act even when odds seemed impossible. They spent the next several hours reviewing the planet's defenses, ensuring stability, and preparing for any eventual return of the Empire. Ethan felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Every challenge faced had been overcome through human ingenuity and determination. Every danger navigated had demonstrated the value of courage, creativity, and adaptability. Humanity, he realized, was capable of far more than the galaxy had ever known. As the first light of a new day touched the planet's surface, Ethan reflected on the journey that had brought him here. He had followed a mysterious message through the stars, braved unknown dangers, and confronted a civilization more powerful than anything he had imagined. And yet, it was human qualities, intuition, courage, and the willingness to act that had made the difference. He understood now that technology and power alone were not enough. It was the human mind and heart that could turn impossible odds into victory. Lyra's people began to emerge from their cities, curious and cautious but full of hope. The restored energy allowed them to rebuild, repair, and begin anew. Ethan watched, feeling a connection not just to Lyra, but to an entire civilization whose fate had been changed by one human pilot. He realized that humanity's role in the galaxy was only beginning. One act of courage could ripple outward, shaping the future of worlds yet unknown. Lyra came to him through the communication array, her expression filled with gratitude and admiration. "Ethan, your journey has not only saved my world, but it has shown my people something extraordinary. Humans, your species, you can achieve what no one else can. You inspire hope." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. It was more than recognition, it was the affirmation of everything he had believed about humanity. As the Empire's remaining forces retreated, confused, and unable to predict human ingenuity, Ethan knew that the planet was safe for now. The cities glowed with life, energy flowed steadily, and the people of Lyra's world had a chance to thrive once more. And yet, he understood that this was only the beginning. Humanity's reach, courage, and ability to think beyond limits could influence the galaxy in ways no one had imagined. Ethan stood in the cockpit, looking at the endless stars stretching beyond the planet. He thought of Earth, of the people he had left behind, and of the vast universe waiting to be explored. Humans had taken their first step into a larger galaxy, not with overwhelming power, but with heart, courage, and ingenuity. And that, he realized, was their greatest strength. Lyra's voice broke through his reverie, soft and full of hope. Ethan, thank you for believing, for acting, for trusting in what humans can do. You have changed my world, and perhaps the galaxy as well. Ethan smiled. He had followed a message through the stars, braved dangers unimaginable, and now stood at the edge of a new future, one where humanity's potential was limitless. As the Aurora drifted in orbit above the planet, Ethan felt a deep sense of purpose. The journey had been perilous, filled with uncertainty, but it had proven something undeniable. Humans could achieve the impossible. Courage, creativity, and determination were more than traits, they were forces that could shape the destiny of worlds. Lyra's planet was safe. The Empire had been outmaneuvered, and the human pilot who had crossed the stars had become a symbol of hope. Ethan knew the universe would never be the same. Not because of weapons or fleets, but because of what humans could bring to the cosmos. Ingenuity, heart, and the courage to follow a voice through the stars, no matter how distant or mysterious. And as he looked out at the stars stretching endlessly before him, Ethan knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had stepped into the galaxy, and with determination, courage, and heart, they could change the fate of countless worlds. Lyra's planet was the first, but it would not be the last. And somewhere, across the stars, the next call for help might already be waiting. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls and prepared for the next adventure. The universe was vast, mysterious, and full of dangers. But he was ready. Humans had followed the impossible before, and they would do it again. Guided by hope, courage, and ingenuity, humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun. And Ethan, a single human pilot, had proven that even one individual could make a difference across the galaxy, leaving a legacy that would inspire generations of explorers yet to come.